So let's get started into our next topic, relational database management system. So what is relational database management system? We know about the database management system, and now we are going into the relational database management system. So what is this relational database management system? So in RDBMS, it stores the data in the form of tables. So table like an Excel spreadsheet, you have rows and you have columns, and it defines the relationship between one object and another object. So here the object we refer to a table, right? So this RDBMS defines how these tables are connected to each other. So that is why it is referred as relational database management system. So a clear example I'm gonna give is on the customer. So let us say there is a customer table with columns like, let's say you have the customer ID, you have the customer name, and you have the customer email, and then we have order table. So there we have the order ID and the customer ID and the amount. So if you observe these two tables, basically you have the customer ID common in both of these two tables. It links these two tables, right? It links these two tables. So that is the relationship between these two tables, and it is powered by different types of keys. And this is how the different keys that we have. So there is a primary key, and there is a foreign key, and there is a candidate key, and secondary key, unique key, composite key, surrogate key, partial key, alternate key, and super key. And there is one more key, surrogate key. So majorly we use the primary key, foreign key, and surrogate key in most of our cases. All these other keys will be used based on the scenario and based on the requirement. So let's get started. So what is a primary key? What is a primary key? So it uniquely identifies each row in a table. Like, so how you example, you have a you are working in a company and you are an employee. What identifies you as a different person? Not your name, because there might be same person with another name. So here they will give you an employee ID that uniquely identifies you from different person. See, and no employee will not have no employee will not be left without having the employee ID. So the main requirement of a primary key is it uniquely identifies each row of the table. That means it must be unique and it should not be null, or not. When you say null, it is not empty. So example is a customer ID or employee ID in a customer table or in employee table, right? So then what is a foreign key? Foreign key is it's a key that it connects from one table to another table. That means if you have an employee ID in here, and that employee ID will be referenced into another table. Like I said, example about the customers and orders table, right? So it creates the relationship between these two tables. And next, coming to this composite key. What is a composite key? So all this composite key can be used to uniquely identify a row. It may be a one column or a multiple columns. So there might be difference. So one becomes the primary key, and the rest of the keys will be the alternate keys, because they are part of unique combination, but they are not treated as primary key. So you have to remember that each table will be having only one primary key, right? So what is an alternate key? So this alternate key, it's nothing but it's a candidate key which is not chosen to be a primary key. Like example, so you have this employee table and you have this email and username. If you consider the username as unique primary key, and this email will be the alternate key, it doesn't mean that it's not a primary key. You have to have only one primary key in a table. The rest of the unique keys will be an alternate keys, right? So that is how this alternate key works. So then what is this super key? What is the super key? So any set of columns. So we have uniquely identify a row, use it to uniquely identify a row. Even a primary key may be a super key, but not every super key is like a candidate key. It sounds a little bit confusing, but it's clear. So a set of columns that are uniquely identify a row. So for example, if you see here, it's a primary key, it's a candidate key, and a super key. So uh, candidate key and primary key are subsets of this primary key. And then what is a natural key? Okay, so this natural key is come from real world scenarios, like real data, like your SSN number or your PAN number or your Aadhaar number, like, or your phone number. So if the real world value change, it affects the integrity of this particular key. And then we have this surrogate key. What is a surrogate key? A surrogate key is an artificial key, so it's an auto incremented value. So you give 1 2 3 4 5, it's an auto incremented value. It doesn't mean that your table doesn't have duplicates, but it uniquely identifies each row, right? Instead of a natural key. Example, user ID. If you consider the user ID as an integer and you give the incrementing value 1 2 3 in the SQL server, so basically this surrogate key is used to improve the performance and flexibility, and mostly it avoids changes if real world value change. For example, if your SSN change, or if your email change, your phone number change, it it is used to change the entire record, right? So what are the properties? So we not have this indexing will be the automatic by using this kind of keys, and there will be no redundancy, and you can enforce the values inside the table, right? And we have the referential integrity. That means one table, if you have a value in one table, the same value will be present in another table. That defines the relationship between these two tables, and it will be unique. So how which key will be used at which scenario? So we use primary and foreign keys to enforce our relationships between these two tables, right? And we use these surrogate keys for stability. Okay, so and one more important thing that we have to remember is we have to stop using, I mean, avoid using these natural keys unless they are highly permanent. If they are permanent, then only we are supposed to use. So when we designing the schemas, we need to understand the candidate, composite, alternate, and super keys. These four categories are used while designing these schemas. So why we need to know all these keys? Because when we know the different types of keys that are available and essential, and these are essential for designing a clean and good databases. When we design a database, these will play a major role.